Hello everyone, X-Wall Kill Bethelite here. And it's amazing how Jehovah's Witnesses are so pro men being men and women being women. They don't want homosexuals. They don't want dykes or I believe what that is a female that looks like a male. They don't want any of those things, but that's what they've had for over 100 years. They've had households with 2 women. Because as we discussed before, the JW men inside the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses are either women or they fall under the category of ain't shit men. Jehovah's Witnesses are against gays and they're against lesbianism and all that. But all this time, for 100 years, they done had households with nothing but women in it, apparently. Because when you look at the roles, women are supposed to, according to, the traditional thing, not according to Marcus, according to the traditional thing, women are supposed to be the nurturers. You see what I'm saying? You normally have, the woman is going to make sure the kids get, and we're going to use the word church, because we want to use this in a broad sense. Women are going to make sure that the kids get to church. Women are going to stay up and do some homework with the kids. Women are going to do the nurturing in the family. Men are supposed to take care of the business aspect. They're supposed to be the protectors of the family. So when you're talking about teachings that are false teachings, that are blatantly false teachings as far as predicting the end of the world and all that stuff, who does that fall under? Does the fault fall under the men who are supposed to be in charge of, they're supposed to be responsible for the spiritual teaching of the family, what the family's taught? The woman will make sure that the kids get to church or the Kingdom Hall or what have you. The woman will go out and participate in all kinds of the activities and the life of the church. Most churches you look at, the life of the church is supported by the women. That's them fulfilling their role. That's the woman doing what they're supposed to do. They're the nurturers. They're the life of the church, the life of the Kingdom Hall. So the men are at fault when they've been teaching their families something blatantly wrong. You can't just blame the church. Yeah, the Jehovah's Witness organization as a whole was wrong, but every single male was responsible for what the family was taught. And men, traditional men, just naturally don't just go by what another man says. They're going to go and do their own research, and if they agree, they agree. If they don't, they don't. So whether or not all those Jehovah's Witness men just went along with what another man said and was just submissive like women, just submissive to another man and what they taught, they're still at fault. They're still either falling under the category of a woman or a feminine man or an ain't shit man, just going by what another man said. When they said the end of the world was 1975 or probably going to be 1975, all these men were supposed to do their own research and instruct their family. Like, okay, I'm going to have to step in here. But what did you see? All the Jehovah's Witness men just fell back and, okay, I'm just going to go with this. I'm going to fall back into submission into what these people are telling me. I'm going to allow this to filter into my family. I'm supposed to be the protector. I'm the shield of the family, but I'm going to step back and allow this to filter into the family. That falls on the men. You cannot have an organization filled with families that has a lot of pedophiles that are just the general population. I understand the Catholic Church, what they were going through, those are priests. That tricked a lot of people. You're not assuming it's going to be the priests. But just general people in the church, no, they're not going to have access to the kids. Why? Because they can't get through the women, but definitely not the men. You're not going to have just a whole bunch of pedophiles running loose in general. Not people in high positions that would trick anybody. You're not going to assume the priest is going to be a pedophile. People know that now, but you're not going to just assume that. But you aren't going to trust your average individual person with your families. Just anybody ain't going to have access to the kids. So while a woman can definitely step up and say something, but that's the men's role, that's their responsibility. That's to protect the family. That's their responsibility. So all these men that have been touching little kids for all these years in the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, again, where were the men when all this was going on? How did they get access to the kids? How did the pedophile live to go to another kingdom hall and jump from hall to hall to touch other kids? Where were the men at? I'm telling you, these kingdom halls are filled with nothing but women. Some of them are natural women, like the actual, women. But then others are unnatural women. Men that have been turned into feminine creatures. They don't fulfill their role. They're not protecting the family. They got pedophiles running loose. Pedophiles should feel unsafe. Pedophiles are unsafe in prison. Pedophiles are unsafe everywhere. The only place pedophiles are safe are in the Jehovah's Witness organization, apparently, because that's where they just flood. That's where this girl got raped just trying to go to her car to get warmed up. The girl that we talked about before that was attacked in the Kingdom Hall parking lot. Pedophiles should be in fear of their life. A pedophile should be in fear of their life, of what would happen to them if they lay a finger on a member of another man's family. What is this man gonna do to me? They gonna get a hold of me and I'm gonna disappear off in the woods somewhere and never be heard of again. Pedophiles are extremely comfortable among Jehovah's Witnesses. That is a fact. It's not just people in high positions that would trick the average person. It's just the average person sitting in the hall might be a pedophile and they're just walking up to kids. I've seen this, where you got some weirdo at the hall just hugging a bunch of kids. They're just hanging out with the kids. They're not even talking with the rest of the grown adult people. They're just hanging out with kids. The men should have been put a stop to that. There ain't gonna be no weirdos wandering around here talking to kids. That's not supposed to fall on the women. The women are supposed to be the life of the church. They're supposed to be supporting the church. They're supposed to be supporting the men. They're supposed to be there for the kids to nurture them. They're not supposed to be worrying about beating up pedophiles and putting the fear of God into other men and not touching little kids. That's supposed to fall on the men. What about the teaching that was in Watchtower for the longest time about not going to college, not having higher education? That's definitely under the role of the men to make sure that the children know how to make a living. Women can do it and women have done it, but the role, the job, is the man's job. Wake that boy up. We about to go learn this trade. Like, that's the man is supposed to do that. The man is supposed to make sure that these kids are prepared for the harsh world that they're about to be a part of when they get older. You see what I'm saying? The women are supposed to be there to nurture them and listen to them and things like that. But as far as just laying down, this is what it is, you need to know this, that, and the third before you step out and have a household of your own, that's the man's job. So where were all the men when Watchtower felt comfortable telling everybody not to go to college, not to pursue higher education? All these men were acting like women and being submissive to what another man says. Somebody should step up and say, not my family. Y'all, you do that with your family, not my family. That's not about to happen. You see what I'm saying? The women, traditionally, I'm not saying that this is how it's supposed to be. I'm saying traditionally, traditional roles, traditionally, the women are the life of the church, the emotional support of the family, the man's support, his peace when he comes home from work and what have you. Traditionally, we're talking, tradition. The man is, this is the way it is out here, and I'm gonna tell you how it really is out here. Your mom is gonna, she's gonna love on you and support you and everything, but I'm gonna tell you how it is, and you need to get this degree. Almost everything Watchtower has done, they can only do it if the organization was just filled with traditional women. I'm not saying Jehovah's Witness men actually have breasts and, they're actual women. I'm talking about they fall under the role of a traditional woman. The role of a traditional woman is to be submissive to what another man tells you. These quote-unquote men in Watchtower are all a bunch of submissive betas. Like they all just do whatever the heck they're told. Watchtower can come up with anything. Generation of 1914 is not going to pass away to the end of the world. How do they know that? Well, the men were supposed to challenge them. Traditionally, the women weren't supposed to challenge that teaching. The men were. Where are you getting this? Where is this coming from? Show me so I can study it and then teach it to my family. No, the men fall back from their traditional roles and just become submissive bitchs. Like, you know what I mean? They just fall back into such a weak role that there's just no real term for it. I would never call a woman that. Doesn't even make sense to call a woman that. But it makes sense to call a man a bitch if that's what he's being. So you got a whole bunch of bitchs allowing pedophilia, allowing all kind of weird, crazy teachings, allowing kids to be raised to think they don't need to educate themselves and be prepared for the future. And you got a lot of women who work. Why do they work? So that the quote-unquote man can pioneer and do church activities. That's the role of the man, is to work so that the woman can pioneer and do church activities, Kingdom Hall activities. I'm telling you, you just got a bunch of bitch. You got a bunch of women working so that this quote-unquote man can go knock on doors and whatnot and just carry a microphone. That's some womanly stuff, man. That's that's far from masculine. And I can understand why a lot of women that are JWs, they don't find anybody attractive in the Kingdom Hall. They don't find a lot of men. Jehovah's Witness women don't find a lot of men attractive in the Kingdom Hall and end up dating people outside of the Kingdom Hall because the Jehovah's Witness men are a bunch of bitches. That's the reason why. That's 100% the truth. If it wasn't for a whole bunch of weirdos and flooding, the reason why they're flooded with weirdos is because they're not afraid to go to the Kingdom Hall and be a bunch of goofballs and weirdos and pedos, because there ain't no real men there. Real men would have put a stop to that a long time ago. X-Wall Kill Bethelite, signing out.